Ever since Nintendo's debut in 1983 as the Famicom, they've had a plethora of memorable games. One such game, Legend of Zelda, in 1986. Ever since its release, becoming an instant classic. Perhaps one of the story's most notable aspects being the diverse timeline, with one of the common denominators running throughout this timeline being the hero who awakens to save Hyrule. But not every incarnation of Link is the same. And with different skill sets, everybody has their own opinions on which Links they think is the strongest. I've ranked each Link based on their strength, use of magic, combat abilities, and their items and weapons arsenal. And other specific aspects of each Link has also been taken into consideration. Also did not include any Links from any non-canon titles. And so this is my list of weakest to strongest Links. Let me know in the comments if you agree with my ranking, or if you have your own opinion. The Hero of Spirit. In terms of strength, he can be considered one of the more weaker of the Links. His work as an engineer may give him a bit of strength, but nothing too impressive. With the Swordsman Scrolls, he is able to use the Great Spin as well as sword beams when at full health. His items are mostly pretty standard, with the bow and arrows, bombs, whips. He has the Locomo sword, which is pretty well inferior to other blades within the series. Other than that, he also has the Shield of Antiquity. Having lived most of his life as an engineer, he doesn't have much experience in the way of combat. In fact, Spirit Tracks is the only adventure in which this Link is seen in. And although Meliodas offers a challenge, it still pales in comparison to what other Links have had to face. The Hero of Minish. A lot like the Hero of Spirit, he's not much in the way of strength, but having to have been a blacksmith could give him a bit of an edge. Although he doesn't wield the Master Sword, he does have the Picori Sword, which also can seal away darkness. He's also able to wield the Force Sword, splitting him into 4 separate Links. This does give him a bit more strength, however, the clones can only last temporarily. He has also been able to use the Pegasus boots, giving him superhuman speed, as well as the Rock's Cape, allowing him for high jumping. Through the Tiger Scrolls, he was able to learn some pretty impressive combat abilities, such as the Peril Beam, Dash Attack, Rock Breaker, and even Great Spin, just to name a few. Thanks to the use of Eslo, the Minish Cap, he's also able to shrink to the size of an ant. Although, like the Hero of Spirit, the Hero of Minish only has one adventure. But taking down Wind Mage Vatai is an impressive feat. Hero of the Four Sword. On his own, he hasn't really shown any impressive feats of strength, but that is able to multiply by 4 with his use of the Four Sword, splitting him into 4 different Links. He does possess many of the standard items that you would find in Legend of Zelda games, however each Link can only use one item at a time. He has the magnetic glove, allowing him to push or pull other Links. He's also able to use both the Rock's Cape and the Pegasus boots. Also, the Chain Chomp makes its appearance as a usable item in this game. However, the drawback is that it's incredibly volatile, and so not only will attack enemies, but can also attack the other Links around him. Like the Hero of Minish, he's also tasked with taking down Vatai. However, this is his only adventure, and he only uses the basic sword moves such as the spin attack. the Hero of Light. Much like the two previous entries, this Link also uses the Force Sword, once again multiplying his strength. Also, these Link clones don't have to share a heart container and are far more durable. He does have an impressive amount of items such as Pegasus boots, rock feather, and bombs. He's also been able to use both the Quake medallion and the bombs medallion. However, these are not items that he's able to carry along with him. Other attribute enhancing items include the blue bracelet, reducing damage taken, and the power bracelet, giving him more strength. However, these are only temporary. Also, they use many of the basic Zelda moves, but can also form up into either a diamond, square, horizontal, or vertical line while using them. This is another Link with only one adventure under his belt, having to have faced down both Vatai and Ganon. The new Hero of Hyrule. This is a Link that actually has two adventures under his belt, having to have traveled to both Hyrule and Lorule in A Link Between Worlds, and Hytopia in Triforce Heroes. Strength-wise though, he's another one that actually falls short. In terms of items, he has a very impressive arsenal, with upgraded versions of many of the classic weapons, including the level 3 Master Sword. He also uses the Fire Rod, Ice Rod, Sand Rod, and Tornado Rod. He even has particular clothing, such as the Red Mail, reducing damage by half. He even has the capability of merging into walls with use of Ravio's bracelet. In Triforce Heroes, he meets with two other Links. During this adventure, the use of outfits actually gives them different abilities, such as the Fierce Deity armor, and while it may not be the real Fierce Deities, it still doubles the damage that he can do. The Hero of Hyrule. This Link appears in the two original Zelda games, having to have stopped Ganon and then prevent his resurrection. While he may not have used the Master Sword, he does wield the Magical Sword. He's also able to use the Book of Magic, giving his Magical Rod the ability to shoot fire. He's also able to use the Magical Bow with silver arrows, the Power Bracelets, Blue Ring which halves the damage taken, and Red Ring which doubles the damage given. He's also used magical abilities such as summoning thunder and turning himself into a fairy. He's even been able to use other spells that have increased his durability, agility, and even given him the ability to reflect attacks. The Hero of the Sky. This Link is of course the very first hero chosen by the goddess Hyla. Having to have trained at the Knights Academy, this Link already starts out with having experience in some combat, as well as strength enough to lift heavy weapons. Throughout his adventure though, he does pick up a few new techniques such as the Skyward Strike. He has decent items with bow and arrows and bombs, even the beetle allowing him to be able to carry. He also has a whip which allows him to take items from his enemies, as well as the use of Fire Shield earrings. In terms of games, this is the only one that he appears in, having to have taken on the Imprisoned 3 times throughout his adventure. This is also where he goes toe-to-toe with the big bad that started it all, Demise. The Hero of Winds. In terms of strength, he may be above average, but definitely has plenty of durability to have survived being shot from a cannon and slammed into a wall. He has also been able to lift items twice his size. He's also able to use the magic armor which creates a barrier around him. He has a pretty fair amount of items with bombs, the skull hammer, bow and arrows, and even the use of the light arrow. He also had use of the Phantom Hourglass, allowing him to freeze time. However, he needed Sealer in order to do that. Also, in the Phantom Hourglass game, he uses the Power Gem, allowing him for 4 times the attack, the Wisdom Gem, giving him 4 times the defense, and the Courage Gem, where he's able to use the Courage Beam. He's a very skilled swordsman, having to have learned from Orca techniques such as the parry attack and jump attack. His greatest attack having to be the Hurricane Spin. However, this does leave him a bit dizzy afterwards. And this Link has had 2 adventures facing down both Bellum and Ganondorf. The Hero of Twilight. Now, first off, in terms of strength, this is probably the strongest of all of the Links. He's been strong enough to stop charging animals having to have worked on a ranch. Even if he has to use the iron boots to keep himself in place, having the upper body strength to lift and toss around Gorons just shows how much of a beast he is when it comes to strength. His arsenal, however, is not as large as some of the other Links. He does have the ball and chain, as well as the spinner. However, the spinner is a more conditional type of item. He also uses the double claw shot, turning him into what I like to call Spider Link. Much like the Hero of Winds, he also has his own magic armor. However, this version actually uses rupees. He also transforms into a wolf. However, this is also conditional, as he needs Midna in order to change him, as well as be able to use some of his stronger attacks in this form. He's also a very skilled swordsman, having to have learned from the Hero's Shade techniques such as the shield attack, parry attack, helm splitter, and ending blow. This is his only adventure. However, he not only took on Zant, but Ganondorf as well. And the pushback that he gives to Ganondorf during their final battle just further showcases just how strong this Link is. The Hero of the Wild. As far as strength, this Link has shown some amazing feats. In one of his past memories, we've seen that he had taken down an army of bokoblins and Lynels. He is also quite resourceful, being able to find and use different weaponry and items against his enemies. In fact, his survival skills and resourcefulness may also speak to his intellect. Not to say that other Links don't have intelligence, however, the Hero of the Wilds may have a bit more advantage in that. Out of all the items that he carries, the Sheikah Slate may have become his most useful tool. With it, he can use remote bombs, freeze objects and enemies in time temporarily, lift metal objects no matter the size, freeze water into ice pillars, and even take pictures of things. Not only does he use the favored weapons of the champions, but also received their signature abilities. With Mipha's Grace, he's able to be healed once his heart's completely run out. Daruk's Protection gives him an impenetrable shield around his entire body. Revali's Gale lifts him into the air, enabling him to get to higher places, as well as be able to use aerial attacks. And my personal favorite, Urbosa's Fury, being able to summon up lightning. He also has the fire arrows, ice arrows, shock arrows, bomb arrows, and even uses the light arrows with the bow of light. The most powerful of his arrows are probably the ancient arrows, being able to one-shot most enemies and take down guardians. In the Champion's Ballad DLC, Link also receives the one-hit Obliterator. As the name suggests, it obliterates enemies in one hit. However, and no pun intended, it is a double-edged sword, as it takes almost his entire health for him to wield, as well as it can only be used twice at a time. Even before the events of Breath of the Wild, Link was already a skilled swordsman, even being an appointed knight to Princess Zelda, even surviving the onslaught that killed the champions. So far, this Link has only had one adventure, and while the main quest may be one of the shorter of the series, it's clear that he's not lacking in items, skills, or experience. The Hero of Time. As probably the most iconic of the Links, he certainly is not lacking in any skill or strength. With the silver gauntlets added to his own strength, he's able to lift heavier boulders that he normally wouldn't be able to. With the golden gauntlets, he's able to lift and throw small building-sized pillars. Between child and adult Link, other items have included Deku Sticks, Deku Nuts, Slingshots, Bow and Arrows, and the Long Shot. He's also used a variation of the bombs known as the Bomb Chew, which moves towards its target. In order to reveal invisible secrets, he has the Lens of Truth. He even has the signature spin attack, as well as 3 other magical abilities. Din's fire can incinerate enemies around him, as well as light multiple torches. He has Nehru's Love, giving him an impenetrable shield, and Farah's Wind allowing him to teleport. He has also used the fire, ice, and light arrows. He's a very skilled swordsman, having one of the longer quests of the series, and being able to take down Ganondorf and his stronger form, Ganon. The Hero of Legend. The Hero of Legend is an incredibly strong fighter, as well as the most experienced, having to have had 4 games. He's also not lacking in items, having such items as the Titan Mitt, Blue Mail, Red Mail, Golden Sword, Mirror Shield, Hookshot, Pegasus Boots, Rock's Feather, and Magic Rod. He even has use of the Bomb Medallion and the Quake Medallion. He's even used 60 plus rings, allowing him to heal, reduce damage, and even double the damage given. He even has the Magic Cape, allowing him to turn invisible. With the Rod of Seasons, he's able to have control over the 4 seasons. He's able to control the currents of time, moving between past and present with the Harp of Ages. He's a very skilled fighter and even has great durability. In some battles, he's even been able to survive falling from particular heights. And having 4 adventures under his belt, he's taken down Onyx, Varan, and Aghanim, who was secretly Ganon. The Hero of Time, Young Link. I did split the Majora's Mask and Ocarina of Time link up, considering the fact that Majora's Mask actually happens in the child timeline, whereas the second half of Ocarina of Time technically happens in the adult timeline. Considering though this is still the same Link from Ocarina of Time, he does have those skills and strength. Along with having to have used the Master Sword, he also has the Great Fairy's Sword, Razor Sword, and Gilded Sword. He also has various masks. While some of them may not be appropriate for combat, there are others that enhance certain attributes. He has the Bunny Hood for increased speed, the Giant's Mask making him large enough to take on Twin Mold, and is even able to blow things up with the Bomb Mask. He also has the Transforming Mask. As a Deku Scrub, he's able to shoot out of flowers and float in the air temporarily, as well as shoot bubbles. As a Zora, He can use his fins like boomerangs, swim at high speeds, and emit an electric force field. He has increased strength as a Goron and can punch, ground pound, and roll around fast enough that spikes will protrude from his body. The most powerful of his transforming masks being the fierce deities. Standing taller than adult Link and wielding a double helix sword, he's able to shoot beams that can take down bosses in fewer hits. It's even possible that the fierce deities is as dark and powerful as Majora itself. We know that he's a very skilled fighter, and even becomes the Shade who teaches the hero of Twilight, also wearing soldier's armor. Not only having to have faced Ganondorf, his adventures also bring him to Termina, where he takes on the Majora's Mask and stops the moon from falling. And that is my weakest to strongest rankings of the Links. But what are your opinions?